Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I said welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast with Andy Ruther and Joe Prano. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from Port Hueneme, California, Joey No Chill Prano.
Good morning, Andy.
Yeah, a little early, Sash, for you, man.
What is it? 6:15, 6:18 a.m. I left my hat inside, Andy, but I brought the heater. I don't know if you can hear that buzzing in the background.
No.
Okay, great.
So it's this is like if you were doing a local radio sports talk.
That's right. Good morning, Port Hueneme.
Good morning, Port Hueneme. We're here to talk about the Rams. What happened last night against the Eagles? What
an absolute meltdown by the Rams. I'll tell you where it's not melting down. Outside in Port Hueneme today, weather 47 degrees, a little bit of wind. Here we are, top of the 17 past the hour.
That'd be a tough gig, man. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny when I went to college, I did radio and TV. I was like, I'm gonna have a radio show, and first semester, freshman year, signed up for the radio show, and they, you know, you fill out like every time of day that you could do it, and then you mark like 1 as your preference and 2 as your whatever. And so I was just like, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. every morning. Like that's when that's when Stern's on. That's when you do it. And thought for sure, okay, somebody's doing that. I'll get like middle of the day. I'll get middle of the night. I'll get something. No, they're like, yeah, it's yours. It's good. You're good to go. And I went in and was like, oh, no competition for this slot. So I was just a fucking morning radio guy. Freshman year, semester 1, morning radio.
That's tough because also
you're in college, you're a freshman, you're fucking going after. I mean, the amount of times I rolled literally straight there.
My brother told me a great piece of advice before freshman year of college, and I ignored him. I had an 8 a.m. my first semester Spanish class. And he goes, dude, I'm a morning person. He goes, I said, like, dude, I have no problem getting up. I wouldn't call myself a morning person, but I'm kind of a chameleon. I'll adapt. He goes, you're not going to want to take an 8 a.m. class. I'm telling you, freshman year, exactly how many times did I miss that class?
I had an 8 a.m. English class. Went in one time, so fucking hungover / still drunk or whatever. Left like sweating in the class. So like, oh, dude, don't puke in here. Get up in the middle of the class, go across the hall, old Gothic building, fucking yak across the hall, come back, sit back down in class. After the class, teacher's like, can I talk to you for a second? I was like, yeah. She's like, this isn't high school. This is college. You're going to fucking throw up? You don't have to come. Just figure it out. I was like, okay.
That's
she's
funny.
She's like, we're not marking you down as like skipped class. You're not getting that, detention.
Sure.
She's like,
you're an adult.
Yeah.
Act like one. Well, actually, this is a quick, easy segue. Something I wanted to talk about last episode. We talk about getting up and tough gig. Did you see that Jason Kelsey's going to be hosting a late night show on ESPN in January?
I did.
It's going to be for 5 weeks. It's going to be at 1 a.m. They call it Late Night with Jason Kelsey. And the reason I wanted to bring this up, I just don't get it. And you and I have talked about this. So, like, for 5 weeks, it'll be available on ESPN, then also ESPN Plus, and also ESPN's YouTube channel and Kelsey's YouTube channel. Okay, so I guess Kelsey's YouTube channel makes sense, but that's kind of what I was getting to. I just, in this age, and I think we talked about this with McAfee, I don't know why, if you have a massive following, like the Kelsey brothers do, like Jason Kelsey does, like McAfee did, why do you want to actually, quote unquote, I know people are going to say the money, but you're making millions on your own. I would never want to work for ESPN if I can call all my own shots with my own channel. That's
well, it's going to be doing a late night talk show. It's going to be a high production value. You know, they're going to spend a couple $1 million every episode.
You think?
Yes. Pat McAfee's standing in a room that he was standing in with no sleeves on. He's in the same room he was in before ESPN.
Yeah, agreed.
ESPN added nothing to his show.
Well, I think the argument for him was that the guests, the access to guests.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But I'm saying in terms of the production, he's doing the exact same show he did. Yeah, they're adding guests. Yeah, it's a wider audience, stuff like that. And all that stuff comes with Kelsey. He's doing a quote unquote late night talk show. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel's on ABC. Jimmy Kimmel's show costs, I'd imagine, somewhere between 40 and 50 times per episode what Pat McAfee's costs.
But no, like none of those shows, nobody's watching these shows anymore. Right. Like it's obviously YouTube, across the board, for these shows. It's like that's kind of my point of, if I'm Jason Kelsey and I have a massive following and I have a huge podcast, I'm just like, I don't know, dude. I don't, because then you're getting producers involved and the suits. I don't want to deal with the suits, is what I would say. Like he's built his following on his own. Why do I want to deal with the suits?
Well, this isn't replacing the New Heights or whatever. So he's just going to do that. And if it fails, it fails. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And it's 5 episodes. But listen, I'll tell you why it's going to fail. And I've been saying this literally in Hollywood meetings for the better part of the last 10 years. And before that, in meetings in New York with some of these exact same networks. Every sports comedy late night talk show does the same exact failure. They either choose an athlete who cannot tell a joke, or they choose a comedian who does not know sports enough. It's a tale as old as time. There's been 20 versions of this.
I'm trying to think of ones that have happened.
Norm Macdonald is my favorite comedian of all time.
He had a show.
He doesn't know sports. He knows the gambling aspects of sports. He live tweeted golf, but from getting down and dirty and pulling from 12 different things, it's not good. Joe Buck. They tried the Joe Buck. Bill Simmons couldn't tell a joke if he had the next 15 years to train in stand-up comedy.
What about More Sports? Was that ESPN?
Jay's great. Honestly, maybe as far as the show goes, that's the best version. I love Jay. I know Jay. Even Jay, casual sports fan.
Yeah.
I love him. That was the best version of the show because Jay knows more sports than most people, pun intended. But you got to know sports, and then you got to be able to stand up there and deliver. Listen, as far as delivering a joke goes, Jay Moore and Norm Macdonald, absolute legends, but Norm didn't have the time that he had to prep like he did for an ESPYs. He didn't have 4 weeks to sit there and write a monologue every day, and you got to know sports well enough to be able to crank that out every day.
Yeah. I mean, for me, you see something like this, and at the end of the day, it's probably basically for YouTube, because obviously, if the show's at 1 o'clock, nobody's staying up. It's all kind of repurposed or rebranded for just the streaming.
Yep.
On YouTube at the end of the day. But I'll say this too about and I don't have a strong opinion, for the record, about the Kelceys. I know people do. I think there is a fine line. You'd probably agree on overexposure too at a certain point.
Yeah.
I think people just start to dislike people if they see them too much.
I like both the Kelceys. You know, there's absolutely nothing to dislike about Jason Kelce besides the fact that he played for the Eagles. There's a little bit more to dislike about Travis Kelce, but I still like Travis Kelce. I think they're both, you know, seemingly good dudes, fairly entertaining, absolutely great players. But it's just a different realm. And the exposure is for sure one thing, the overexposure. And this isn't even happening until what, January or something like that. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have the overexposure of them forcing him on you between now and then. And then when it happens, like you said, why a network? Because they're going to promote the shit out of it. It's going to be everywhere on ESPN. You're going to see a million commercials over it. But in the end, the guy's hosted a podcast with his brother. He's like, Jimmy Fallon was a long-running performer, from stand-up to SNL to movies, TV shows, whatever. You watch the original time of him doing either late night when he took over the late spot for Conan, or the first couple episodes of the Tonight Show, it is embarrassingly, flop-sweatingly terrible. Them having 5 weeks or whatever of Jason Kelce, like, he's not going to have enough time to even figure it out. It's going to be bad.
Well, we can move into talking about his former team then, the Eagles.
Yeah.
Just a game I completely missed. They just beat the hell out of the Rams.
Well, this is did they play the Commanders that 2 weeks ago or last week? It's the same thing. It's like they're playing a close game, and then they have the weapon of Saquon Barkley to just end games, which is when the Giants were winning games in the last few years. It's exactly the same thing. You have a lead that, you know, he's the 4-minute guy. Give him
this one, they dominated this game though.
Well, it was still a football game until pretty late.
Well, no, I would say it was a football game at half. And they come right out, they go up 20-6. And obviously the Rams go back and score too. But I just look, I think at this point, one, Saquon has for sure entered the MVP discussion. I think we can all agree to that. And I think that brings a good discussion about, do we finally look at running backs outside of the quarterback position? Because just like last year, we have a pretty open MVP race.
Well,
and Mahomes not in it.
And I'll say this. It was, I know that all of our Big Cock Brock fans, all the Big Cock Brock callers, have since moved to countries without internet access. So we haven't heard from them lately. But I said it last year, and I'll say it about this Eagles team. It was always offensive. It was offensive when the conversation was out about Brock Purdy. Is Brock Purdy in the MVP candidacy? All that stuff. When it was Christian McCaffrey who was he scored a touchdown every single game of last season. And it was a team that was built around that guy. The reason that Saquon Barkley has entered the MVP discussion is because the Eagles are, what are they now? 9-2.
Yeah.
9-2, second best record in the NFC. So they're winning games, and it's one of the few places where there's a running back who's more important than their quarterback. Now you could say he's not more valuable. Of course he's not more valuable. If a, you know, player X off the street came out and took over for the Eagles, they're not going to be as good as Jalen Hurts. But that team is not what they are without Saquon Barkley. And there's very, very few teams in football that's the case, where there's any single player on offense or on defense who you're like, would I take player X would I take the starting running back from any other team blindly and let him replace Saquon, or would I take the starting quarterback of any other team and blindly let him replace Jalen Hurts? I think for the Eagles situation, and obviously in the Niners situation the last couple of years with them starting a third stringer that everybody decided was Big Cock Brock, that would have been the case. You could have taken, you know, quarterback X. You could have gone and said, hey, it's going to be Justin Fields. It's going to be Tua. It's going to be this guy. It's going to be Baker Mayfield. And the Niners would have been pretty good. But if you had that Niners team and you had Big Cock Brock, and look at it. Look at this year. I mean, the Niners are essentially hanging on by a thread because they had to go with not Christian McCaffrey in the backfield to start this season. So that's why I think Saquon Barkley has absolutely jumped into it, because if you look at a team like the Ravens, and we've been critical about Lamar Jackson, you replace Derrick Henry with player X, you're not going to take that over Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is critical of who we benefit him. They need him to win the games. Saquon Barkley, last year, the Eagles lose a road game and get absolutely murdered by the Tampa Bay Bucks in the playoffs. And I'll tell you what, the reason I also think is because the reason I'm not all in on the Eagles, in addition to my hatred of them, is Jalen Hurts. And that's why I think Saquon Barkley has entered the MVP conversation with the game he played last night.
Well, there's a few things about the Eagles this year that's different from last year. Much improved defense. Right? So their D, you saw it last night. Matthew Stafford doesn't have time to throw the ball. He's just getting swarmed left and right. I forget how many sacks there were, 4 or 5, whatever it was. So there's that. And obviously,
which, by the way, let me just add on to the Saquon Barkley case. I deal with a lot of absolute moron Eagles fans in my life, in friends, on the internet, from our fan base or whatever. And moron Eagles fans, if they're one thing, they're consistent. They always buy into the bullshit. It doesn't matter. A decade ago, Chip Kelly's going to revolutionize football. Time of possession doesn't matter. We've got a dream team. All these fucking things, right? The Eagles are learning this season. Eagles fans are learning this season why time of possession matters. Why a guy like Saquon Barkley matters. Oh, your defense takes the field and has a little get up and go to them, and your defensive line is looking fresh and sprightly and getting after the quarterback. Yeah. Once again, partially on Saquon Barkley. You're controlling the ball.
Well, look, man, I think, I said about a month ago, I thought they would win the division. I didn't pick them at the beginning of the year, but after I'd seen enough, I just felt like Washington was too young, and that's kind of playing out that way, that they're just not ready yet. But my position on the Eagles is definitely changing as well from, I think they'll win the division, to, I mean, they're right there, in my opinion. If you look at, obviously, the runaway team right now in the NFC is the Detroit Lions, and they're just kicking everyone's ass. And after the Lions, it's like, okay, so who do we got to compete in that conference? It's basically the Eagles and the Packers. And at this very moment, I might put the Eagles above the Packers at this moment. Now, playoffs, anything can happen. But my point to you is, you have to admit the Eagles are going to they're going to be one of those teams. I'm saying we're looking at basically 3 teams right now. The Niners are done. They're done, man. They're done.
Well, are they done? Aren't they? Like, where the your Seahawks won yesterday, so they're a game back from the NFC West.
They're just a game back. But my point is, I don't care. I don't, even if they somehow make their way into the playoffs, this to me is not that Niners team. That's why I'm saying they're done.
Okay. You're saying they're done in terms of their chance to make the Super Bowl.
Yes, they're done.
Got it. Listen, the Eagles, the NFC is absolutely, top loaded. It falls off pretty fast. As far as who can sneak through the playoffs, I do think that it has way more. Like, I'll pencil in the AFC, the Chiefs, the Bills, outside chance for a Chargers team, outside chance for a Ravens team. And the reason I just did it in that order, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, who I believe in more than Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, because he's been there before and he's getting experience and whatever. But I'm not the world's biggest Lamar Jackson believer. That's why I have them in that order. Why do I think the Chiefs and the Bills have a chance together? I think they have the 2 best quarterbacks in football. You go to the NFC side, I feel like it's open because the 2 top teams have quarterbacks I question. Now, that being said, somebody's got to win it, right? Somebody's got to go there. I also have not been super high on Brock Purdy. I also think, it's probably the Commanders and specifically Jaden Daniels, probably too young, But when it comes to the Eagles and the Lions and who's going to make it around, it's like, I don't have super faith in any of it. Like, I think both of those teams in the NFC are way more susceptible to losing to a random Bucks team or a random Commanders team or a random whatever team than the top end of the AFC. Now, those teams are also dominating, and very likely one of them will be there. But when we, and by the way, good for Saquon Barkley for finding himself onto a good team after being on the Giants, who we can or can't talk about. I really don't give a shit. But what we did with Lamar, Saquon Barkley is a good guy, and I don't wish anything on him. I wish nothing but success for him. Loved him as a New York Giant, but every year we go, and also Lamar is injury prone, so you never know. It's like, when Saquon Barkley made it through a whole season.
Has he?
I think once.
Well, if they're smart, at some point you do kind of minimize his workload.
Unless you're competing for the 1 seed all the way down to the last game of the season. And
I mean, look, dude, he's after last night's 250 plus yards, he's 8 yards shy of 1,400 just rushing.
Yeah.
Which I, would put him on pace to for sure get at least damn near 2,000 yards. I mean, look, if I think for me, the key to them is the defense, which is probably the key for most teams come playoff time. If their defense plays like it did last night, they're a tough out. But then again, Detroit's D is legit, man. That's another game.
The key to them is coach, quarterback, defense.
Now, Sirianni still is questionable. I cannot believe. I still last night when I still don't understand. I don't know how closely you're watching the game.
Yeah,
he had 7 seconds. And instead of doing a Hail Mary, I still don't understand it. He ran a quarterback designed run with Jalen Hurts. and then gave the Rams, and now the Rams end up getting sacked, but gave the Rams a shot at their own Hail Mary. It's one of the worst coaching decisions I've seen. That was also probably nobody's talking about it because of the way the game played out. But I just thought, what are you doing?
Well, also, and this is where Nick Sirianni skates sometimes from criticism. His decisions reach a point where they go, there's absolutely no way to justify it. Like the conversations that we have about, oh, down, you're down 14 and you go for 2, which I want to get into in a little bit, but also, or the Commander scored to pull within 1 with the second left in the game. Do you go for 2? Do you not go for 2? Do you kick it or do you not go for 2? It's these questions that are like, Nick Sirianni is a guy who's going for ice cream, and they're like, you want vanilla or chocolate? And he's like, I want refried beans. And they're like, what? He's like, put refried beans in that cone and dip it in cottage cheese. And they're like, and your friends are like, should we discuss this? And you're like, what's discussing? This is the only explanation is absolute utter idiocy. The guy makes coaching decisions that are so dumb you can't even talk about them, because then you have to somehow try to enter some sort of moron solar system where this question even makes sense.
Well, that's kind of how I felt last night. I said they're not even, and again, it's before half. They're not fully delving into this. Why? It didn't make it just didn't make sense. If you're trying to run out the clock, just take a knee. Like, I believe the Rams had no timeouts. Everything. It was bizarre. So that's definitely a factor heading into the playoffs. But again, the Lions are the team to beat in that conference, and their defense is really showing up this year, which to me is the big difference maker.
I mean, I look forward to an NFC Championship game where the Eagles and the Lions play, and it's 0-0 at halftime because both teams kept going on 4th and 4 inside each other's own 20. They're like, hey, Mike, we've had 10 drives of over 80 yards already in this half and no points. What's happening? I don't know, Chris. For some reason, these teams refuse to take points.
Yeah. But I think the Packers will be there too. I think Jordan Love is a very talented quarterback. I think the turnovers are the biggest concern with him. But I think they'll be there. And at the end of the day, there's still 6-7 games left.
But here's the thing about the Packers. If you look at the Packers on paper, they don't have nearly the talent that the Eagles or the Lions have. So why do we believe in the Packers? Why do both of us believe in the Packers?
Well, I believe in their coach and I believe in their quarterback.
There you go.
And they have a top 10 defense.
There you go.
Yeah. I think I'm low-key rooting for the Lions to make the Super Bowl though. But I'll also laugh if they lose to the Packers in the playoffs. Like they're gonna, let's say they sweep the Packers in the regular season. We play them here in a couple weeks. We all know how hard it is to beat a team 3 times.
Listen, if it comes down to the Lions and the Eagles, it'll be a scene from Wizard of Oz over here. I'll be dressed as a lion. And I'll be fucking I'm the world's biggest Lions fan. If it comes down to the Lions and the Eagles, I'll be a more delusional Lions fan than all the Lions fans that have ever Lions fanned. If it comes down to that, because Eagles fans remain the worst. Did you see what's coming out of SoFi last night? Last week, thank you, Giants. This week, Dallas sucks. Dallas sucks. It's the lamest, loserest fan base that's ever existed. You guys just keep winning big primetime football games, and all you can think about is the big brothers in your division.
Do they play Dallas or something? Why are they chanting Dallas sucks?
Because they're losers. They're insecure losers. Every team in the division's franchise success that dwarfs theirs, every team in the division whose franchise success dwarfs theirs, live rent-free in their head. It's loser shit.
Loser shit was the Giants. Says, bro, what a debacle.
Yeah, listen, I barely watched the game because I watched the game.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I watched the game just until I was sure that they were going to lose, which was pretty early on. Because here's the thing. This is the other thing about being a knowledgeable sports fan, especially about football teams. I prefer 2 wins to 6 wins. I believe if you go back to start the year when we do the NFL preview, I predicted the New York Giants would win 6 football games. And it's the worst situation you could possibly be in. I don't want to win 6 football games.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm pissed off at this point that they've won 2.
I have to laugh at Baker Mayfield trolling when he did the Tommy Cutlets touchdown celebration.
Listen, I've mocked Tommy Cutlets myself. It was pathetic shit that they were doing last year, but also Baker Mayfield. For all the people, Baker Mayfield was the Bucs saving him from being Johnny Football. Like you were planting flat. What?
You don't put that on him.
I'm just saying.
He won a playoff game in Cleveland.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. And then they traded his ass for a rapist.
Well, look, I was never a big Baker guy, but I've kind of turned.
Oh, Baker's a fine quarterback.
Yeah,
no doubt about that. No doubt about that. Baker's a fine quarterback. But I would argue if there's ever a problem with Baker Mayfield, it was his ego outweighs his talent.
Well, for sure. I want to go back to something real quick on Eagles Lions. Who do you have more trust in? Because both quarterbacks have been to a Super Bowl, have both lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Jared Goff or Jalen Hurts? You got to pick one.
Who do I have more faith in?
Correct.
In a vacuum or on right now on these teams as they exist?
We'll just say this. These teams, whether that's Lions, Eagles head-to-head in an NFC championship, or whether that's Lions or Eagles against pick an AFC team in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I
think it's a good question.
I have more faith in Jared Goff to make the Super Bowl with this Lions team than I do Jalen Hurts to make the Super Bowl with this Eagles team. And that is because we just talked about how top-loaded the NFC is. The one thing, and we can, you just wanted to talk about the Giants, and we will talk about, this relates to them. And this is, how Brian Daboll might be getting his ass fired before he gets his chance to have his own quarterback. The Lions and obviously the Rams before them with Sean McVay, they put Jared Goff in a position where he doesn't have to be Matt Stafford. He's had more of those moments in Detroit than he did when he was in LA, but it's scheming for guys to be open. This is why I question him and why I criticized him for, the game against Houston. You play a playoff quality defense, you throw 5 picks. The Texans don't even have a great defense this year, but they do have a great defensive-minded head coach. The scheme that they're going to face, the scheme that they faced against the Texans is better than the defensive scheme they will face against any NFC team. Now, the Texans might not have the talent that some of the NFC teams have on defense this year, but the scheme is better than any that they will face from an NFC team. So Jared Goff can stay in that box and be Jared Goff. Jalen Hurts, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and Saquon Barkley has masked this, but the close your eyes and chuck. I've got Devontae Smith. I've got AJ Brown down there somewhere. That shit does not play come playoff time. And the Eagles and Nick Sirianni have less thoughtfulness to let's put our quarterback in a position to make easy plays.
Why do you say close your eyes and chuck? The guys at 69% completion percentage.
Yep.
See, I for sure am much higher on Jalen Hurts than you are. In fact, I would do the opposite. I guess they're different quarterbacks. Goff obviously can't run. I think there is with the mobility of Jalen Hurts. I think the upside's bigger, but I also think there's a higher upside to turn the ball over. Although Goff can have his games too. I'm probably going to take Hurts. But it's tough. It's tough with those guys. They both fit well when they're playing within the system, and not trying to have to. They're not going to have to do a quote unquote take over the game. So I mean, it is a tough call. But I think with Hurts' ability to run the ball, I don't know. I mean, look, I think we're kind of creating an interesting storyline between the coaches, the quarterbacks. It would definitely be an interesting championship game between those two teams.
Let me ask you something right now. Do you think that is the championship game?
No.
You
know what I'm saying? No. You know what I'm saying? No.
Hold on. Two groups: historically Eagles fans, more recently Lions fans. They just love to come at me for not believing in their team. Like I did last week. Andy, the floor is yours. I will not weigh in on my opinion. The floor is yours. Why? They're the 10-1 and 9-2. Why are you a hater?
Well, here's why. It's just the playoffs are different.
Because your team sucks, Prado.
And I think it's we've seen it time and time again. It's just tough to get back there. Right? It's tough. It's very rare you don't have like Mahomes and the Chiefs. That's just a one of one. A Patriots type team, a Colts team that's consistently making the AFC Championship in that era as well. It's like it's just so tough to consistently make it back, and we all see upsets. We see it all the time in the playoffs, and that's why Packers for sure. The Vikings again yesterday. It's like you have a 11-point lead. And you somehow choke that away within the last minute.
Whoever gets to play the Vikings in the first round of the playoffs gets a bye.
You don't think they win a playoff game?
Absolutely not.
Interesting. Right now they'd play the Falcons, Joe. What about that one? They'd be at Atlanta if the playoffs started today.
It's their best chance, and still probably no.
That'd be a fun storyline. Kirk Cousins against his own squad.
Yeah.
It's the same thing though. It's the D will be fine. I think they have a really good coach. It's Sam Darnold. He's the big question mark there. But for me, it's just those three teams from the NFC. I have zero. It's the Lions, Eagles, and the Packers. I don't have much faith in any of the NFC West teams. Disappointing year for sure for the Niners. Okay, bigger disappointing year. I think I know you'll say. The Bengals or the Niners? Now the Bengals came into the year with a fourth place schedule, a cupcake schedule. Everybody, people like me, were so wrong. It was like, oh, this schedule.
I'm going to say the Bengals because two things. The Bengals aren't making the playoffs. The Niners might. Now, we might agree that the Niners aren't going to do anything when they get there, but the Niners might win their division. I don't know that they will, but they might. The Bengals' chances of winning their division is dead and buried. Also, the Niners lost Christian McCaffrey until last week. We just talked about Christian McCaffrey's value to that team as it compares to even his own quarterback. Is it a disappointing year this year if Joe Burrow was out 4 games? Or is it we got fucked? Injuries. Now, injuries happen in the NFL, but like I feel like it's a different thing when you underperform than when you have guys hurt.
So I'd actually disagree with you on this one. I'd say Niners. Just based on histories of franchises.
You know what, Andy? I kind of love this. I feel like this is we get a potential reverse Ruther curse here. Which one of the teams, the Lions or the Eagles, end up losing to the Niners in the playoffs now that you've done this?
Not the Lions. Well, I just think, again, the Niners could make the playoffs. I don't see it. I guess I shouldn't say they're only a game out. It just doesn't seem like it's clicking right now. Now they can definitely go on a run. They do have a history. That's my point. That's why it's more disappointing to me to be 5-6.
Yeah, but also you got to keep in mind like the franchise history. Like think about how. Like, you can't make the NFC Championship game every year forever.
True. No, I agree. But that's why, to me, they are more disappointing. If you look at, like, it's so funny, in this, what's come back full circle here in Cincinnati is Carson Palmer and how he left. And I don't know if you remember, he just straight up said, I'm going to retire.
Yeah. No, I remember
when he was still in his prime.
Yeah.
And he was so hated. And obviously I lived in LA at the time, but I knew how hated he was, and people would bring signs to games. And now that everything's come back, I believe that was, I don't know, around 2009, and everything's come back, and they go, well, shit, nothing's changed. Idiot, dumb Homer fans are finally realizing he was right all along. They don't try to upgrade. They don't try to improve their defense. They just think because they went far 2 years in a row with a quarterback wide receiver duo that this can happen every year, when we all know football is way more than that. But for that reason, I'm saying the Niners, because again, history, when you just look at the two franchises, and yesterday sucked because Purdy doesn't play, though. Let's be honest. Like,
yeah,
that sucks because you go into Brandon Allen.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy sounds like he should be doing my taxes here come April next year.
Yeah. It's going to be especially painful when the Niners are the team that beats the Eagles and they do it with Daniel Jones. That's good. That's what's going to be really painful.
That's not happening, bro. I do want to talk about the Texans for a minute. And I think we have a sophomore slump here with CJ Stroud. They're losing to teams they shouldn't lose to.
I was on the fucking Titans for how many weeks to cover, and I was like, I'm not doing this again.
I know. I'm just saying they've lost what? 3 of their last 4, but 2 of those 3 are to the Jets and at home to the Titans.
Yeah.
Now, look, they're going to win the division. I think we both assume they're still 2 games up. But I think he's just taking a little sophomore slump, and they're not there. They're just not there in the conversation anymore.
Well, again, like you said about the Bengals, they're playing a first place schedule this year. They're not taking anybody by surprise. They're not first year quarterback. Oh, first year coach. Like we don't have to worry about these guys. Now people are like, this team's pretty good. And listen, CJ Stroud if he retires tomorrow, has accomplished more than I thought he would, because I like when it comes to Ohio State quarterbacks, when it comes to major program quarterbacks even, but specifically Ohio State and their history in the NFL, he's been better than I thought he would if he retires tomorrow. But that being said, we always talk about the sophomore slumps of teams. We don't tend to do it when the teams are led by absolutely, like we didn't have a Mahomes sophomore slump.
Well, again, you're talking about the greatest, man.
Right.
It's tough to do that. And the Chiefs are interesting. Again, yesterday, I forget. I don't know who you and I took in our head-to-head. I was looking at that spread long and hard. I didn't take it, but in my head, I was like, God, they're just not beating teams. And again, they win a close one. A lot of people are starting to get off on the Chiefs, which is weird to me because they're 10-1.
Right.
And a win's a win, right? You're not going to remember this. Did we beat the Panthers by 17 or did we beat them by 3? Like, that doesn't matter to me. 11 games in, come playoff time, you're going to have to go through Arrowhead most likely. I think it's foolish for people to get off on the Chiefs. Like
I cannot wait to bet the Chiefs as an underdog in the Super Bowl.
Well, I think a lot of people don't feel they'll make the Super Bowl is what I'm saying. Yeah. But you talk about top heavy, the NFC. I could make an argument the AFC is very similar. Chiefs, Bills, because then after that, Pittsburgh has a lot of question marks offensively. Defensively, the Ravens have a lot of question marks. I think if the Chargers win tonight, if they can pull out a win, now they're underdogs. If they can pull out a win tonight, they're a team who you're like, I know you've said this all along. Man, they'd be a tough out just with a coach, a defense, and a quarterback.
Yeah, we might have to do a Joe Prano retrospective if the Chargers make a run this year, whenever the quarterbacks have been brought up, and I was just like Justin Herbert, and people like Justin Herbert. Yeah, guys, I don't judge quarterbacks on wins and losses.
You know who's really insecure about Justin Herbert is Bengals fans.
Bengals fans.
Oh yeah,
and Dolphins fans.
Yeah, they always love to bring up Burrow and fucking head-to-head. And now, to be fair, I don't think Burrow's had a good coach either, but not to the level of stale. I mean, how many coaches has Herbert already had? 3?
Well, who was before Staley?
The black dude.
Oh yeah, that was his first.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You had 3 head coaches, man.
Yeah. And also Brandon Staley for the majority of the time. And just like one of the all-time worst coaches. Like he's up there for terrible coaches.
Yeah, he was bad. Now he finally has some stability. Did you see the Raiders are selling more equity?
Yeah.
So he's going to sell 15% more. Mark Davis is, after he just sold what? 10%?
Yeah.
But you know what I learned reading about this, which I didn't know? There's a clause with the owners. Let me pull this up. So he just sold 10.5%. And now he's going to sell 15. So So he'd only own 75%. But did you know this? Davis will remain the controlling owner of the Raiders. He could sell nearly all his stakes and keep decision-making power. This is wild. There was, as of 2022, the NFL dropped the minimum percentage of a team that a long-standing owner must control from 5 to only 1% for teams with the same owner for at least 10 years.
Wow.
So if you got the same owner for at least 10 years, you can only own, this is a stupid rule, by the way, only 1%, and you could be making all the decisions.
Yeah, that's insane.
They really need to change that.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say 30%.
No, it's 1%.
Yeah. That's insane. I honestly, I don't even think you should, like, even if it was 30% or whatever, I don't think you should be able to control your team if you own less percent than somebody else. Now, if Mark Davis owned 2% of the team and then, 98 other people owned 1%, great. You're the owner in charge. Oh, also, by the way, if you do what Mark Cuban did and do a deal where you sell on the grounds that you
can still control.
Yeah. Then that's it. But the idea that Mark Davis could just own 1% of the team and be the controlling part is ludicrous.
Well, the Brady thing is interesting. It's like in this article, they're talking about how they think Brady's going to try to come in and, even though he doesn't own much, help control the quarterback situation and these things. And the whole time I'm just saying, but dude, the conflict of interest, you're an analyst for Fox. How does this work? And if I'm Mark Davis, at what point do I get a new haircut when I'm making millions? Like, at what point?
Yeah, somebody should have controlling interest of his hair and help him out. Although I got to say, not Tom Brady, because Tom Brady's got to do something about his hair.
What's wrong with Brady's hair?
Oh, Jesus. Come on.
What do you mean, come on?
The current Tom Brady, Tom Brady from the side is a rooster. Like, Tom Brady is just like, dude, you have a side part. You had the side part your whole career. Like, what are we doing here? All of a sudden, like, it looks like Tom Brady, every time they cut to him on camera, like he was just standing behind a jet engine. It's just like, Tom Brady's hair looks like my hair, but crazier. And I just woke up at 6 a.m.
You're not a fan of his hair, huh?
I just don't even know what he's doing. It looks like he kind of like, dude, you're a multi-millionaire. You're borderline a billionaire. Why are you cutting your hair with a Flowbee? Who are you, George Clooney?
The dye is strong too.
Ugh.
So that's something I'm really noticing now about people.
I'll never understand it. I'll never, ever, ever understand it. Never have, never will.
Dyeing or just the strong dyeing?
Both. Because here's the thing. It's a weird vanity thing. I've had conversations with people. I'm not going to sell out guys I've had a conversation with, but there's a comic. We both know him. Dyeing his hair. I was like, I said to him one day, I go, why are you doing this? No one gives a shit. Oh, I'm trying to get, to get kids to get, I promise it's going to be better. Like, ask any fucking woman. Be like, who you want to fuck? Sam Elliott or this fucking guy? They'll be like, Sam Elliott. They're like, dude, you're way better off just being gray. Because here's the thing. If you dye it, it always looks weird. Always.
Yeah, so like
there's a color palette. It's like the brown that you get when you dye your hair is only for people who dye your hair. That's not a color brown that anybody's hair grows.
Well, it's like, okay, so Brittany really likes when I have a beard, but I think you've talked about this too. It's like, I have so much, you can see it right now. I have so much gray in my beard. I don't like it as much because I said I feel old. I said, look at all this gray, especially in the goatee area. I said, I feel old, but she's like, I really like it. And she says,
exactly.
But
so what do you give a shit?
No, I shouldn't. It's an insecurity that I have, that I feel old.
My insecurity is when girls tell me they don't like something. That's what I'm insecure.
Yeah. No. But this is what I'm getting to. So I don't like it because I feel like I look old, and I know when I'm clean shaven. Conversely, she always says, I feel like you look too young when you're clean shaven, because you do have like a young looking face, just genetically. But you know what she said to me? She's like, oh, just for men, your beard. And I was like, what? I was like, I'm not just fermenting this. Like, it's gray. And you know damn well, like, if I did that, if I showed up on the next episode with Just for Men to hide this gray, you'd laugh your ass off.
I'd laugh my ass off.
What are you doing?
Somebody gave me Just for Men as like a birthday gift when I turned 30. First of all, I didn't even get gray. I didn't get significant gray in my beard and mustache until I wasn't sleeping at night because my girlfriend was trying to run me over in her car and throwing my golf clubs in the shower and shit like that. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Hold on, she threw golf clubs in the shower?
Oh,
I don't know about that.
Destroyed a TV with them first, to put a golf club through a TV.
Hold on, I knew she tried to run you. Hold on. She threw.
I came home one day and the golf clubs were in the shower.
Oh.
Super Bowl Sunday will always be a triggering day for me from now going forward, because the Super Bowl, remember the Super Bowl I went to, when I went to the Rams Super Bowl, that was the night the whole thing came undone. Getting attacked when I came home. Anyway. Yeah. The stress is what term, but like, I would never do it. And you know what's so funny? I had this conversation with my agent maybe like 6 months ago. He's like, oh, the beard and the mustache, it just like ages you. And I'm like, but also you told me to keep the mustache because it's like the signature thing that people cast me for. He's like, yeah. I go, are you telling me? I just go, I'm not just fermenting the mustache, if that's what you're talking about. I will never do it. He's like, no. You can't do that, because also then if somebody wants to clean shaven, sometimes it can like dye your skin, and then all of a sudden you'll have like a weird whatever. I was like, so what are you suggesting? He's like, well, they have this like soap that you can, if you shampoo your hair with this soap, it can like invigorate the color. And I was like, oh, I have an idea too. I was like, I have an idea. And he goes, what's your idea? I go, I thought maybe I'd bet on hockey. And he was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I go, aren't we just throwing out ways I can waste my money? Like fucking soap that I'm washing my fucking.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Never going to work.
I've never heard of that.
I just think, and this is the same thing. The hair dye for men is facelifts for women. If you absolutely fucking nail it, you might skate by. Otherwise, everybody knows. And then what's the point? Every woman you see, you're like, ugh, what happened to her face?
It's true.
Like, ugh.
It's the first thing you say.
Why does Nicole Kidman look like the Joker? Ugh, what happened? Just age. Always look better when you just like let it happen.
Yeah. The facelifts when they're bad, and especially when dudes do them. You gotta just age. And I know a lot of people, it's not easy to get older, for sure, but damn, it is a bad look. See, it's funny. You noticed, you're talking about Brady's hair that way, whereas me yesterday,
for
the
sure.
first thing I noticed yesterday, like I made a comment. We were all at her parents yesterday, and I was like, "Look at his dye, man. What is like? Come on, Tom. Like,
and his face. I mean, Tom's done it all.
I know, he has
hair dye, facelift, terrible haircut.
I'm surprised they didn't really attack that at the Tom Brady roast.
Yeah.
He kind of looks like the puppets from Team America.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
That's kind of the vibe I get when I look at Brady's
100%.
face.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Tom Brady, puppet master of the Raiders.
Do you think they fire? And I mean, dude, they just gave him they're just such a debacle, man.
Who?
The Raiders.
Oh.
Think they fire Antonio Pierce?
I don't know. It's again, it's one of those things where it's like, what was Antonio Pierce supposed to accomplish with this team? You have Gardner Minshew. You traded Devontae Adams. You let your running back go. You have a solid edge rusher. You have an above average. You have a borderline star edge rusher.
Okay, so
this is your whole team?
Well, let me ask you that. Yeah, no, I agree. You need a quarterback.
But you need a lot of things.
They need a lot of things. Where are we at on Sean Payton?
What do you mean?
I just and we had a call and it cut out at a certain point. So I had it queued up, but to be honest, it wasn't the best quality, but I'll just discuss. The caller was kind of asking, and I felt like the caller, he's saying, look, where are we at with Sean Payton? It's like, is he good? Is he bad? Is he somewhere? And I think the point of that's how I feel too, is I expected nothing from this team.
You're not telling me Sean Payton's gonna be just over 500, make the playoffs and lose? No.
Well,
you're not telling me a Sean Payton win team is going to win 9 games and lose in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, but let me get to my point. My point was this. I don't know. I almost feel like that, where I don't know at times. I didn't expect them to even make the playoffs. They have a rookie quarterback. I'm not saying they're going deep in the playoffs. They're 7-5. They clearly have a very, very good defense. I just think no one anticipated this, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, this doesn't change my opinion at all.
I mean, if anything, it confirms my opinion.
I mean, the truth is they have a top 3 defense. Like, they're that good this year.
Yeah.
It's a top 3 defense.
I'm just like trying to look at Sean Payton's playoff game log.
It's funny you say. I was actually looking at Drew Brees last night, playoffs. And it was kind of similar. I was looking at the years where you're just like, wow, back-to-back years, the Saints go 7-9. And you're like, how does this happen with Drew Brees? But then again, you need a defense. And
back-to-back years, I believe they went 7-9.
It's like, you need a defense. I guess the reason I'm bringing this up is, like, Sean Payton, is he overrated, properly rated? Neither of us are going to say underrated. I'm just trying to get a sense of what people feel out there in general, because I feel he's really not talked about as much anymore.
I feel like Sean Payton is overrated and has been overrated forever. And you could say that he's less overrated now because people aren't talking. When people list their top 5 coaches in the NFL, he's not on there anymore. But I think people will still be like, Sean Payton. And I'm like, listen, if you
okay, let me ask you 2 coaches, Sean Payton or Zach Taylor.
Like Sean Payton because experience?
Sean Payton, Nick Sirianni.
That's not even a question.
Okay, so you're gonna go Sean Payton.
But let's go. Let's go to the teams in the playoffs right now. So the Broncos are in what spot in the playoffs?
Let's see here. The Broncos would be a 7 seed.
Okay, so go from the top down, 1 through 6. Coaches.
Andy Reid.
Who you got?
Obviously, Andy Reid.
All right. Buffalo.
Sean McDermott.
Who you got?
Probably McDermott. I mean, he's never been to a Super Bowl.
Right. But you've probably got him.
Probably have him.
Who's the 3 seed?
It's Pittsburgh Steelers.
Who you got?
Mike Tomlin.
Okay. Who's the 4 seed?
D'Amico Ryans.
Who you got?
I'll take Sean Payton over him right now.
Okay.
It's only
not sure I agree, but okay.
And then 5 seed would be the Chargers.
Yep.
And Harbaugh. I'm obviously going to take I'm obviously going to take Harbaugh. And then 6 seed is the other Harbaugh with the Ravens.
And you're going to take the other Harbaugh.
Correct.
So basically every team ahead of him in the playoffs is a better coach?
I don't think, TBD still on D'Amico Ryans.
Okay.
And also, like I said, it's kind of a toss with him and Sean McDermott for me. I think there's a lot of good coaches in the AFC too. I mean, that'd be interesting. Let's flip the script. Let's do NFC. I'll do it to you. Sean Payton or Mr. Grit?
Like at this point, I might take Mr. Grit.
Oh, Campbell. Okay, we already know.
This is to show you how much I've never believed in Sean Payton.
Okay, Sean Payton or Sirianni. You said Sean Payton.
That's a joke.
Seahawks would be a 3 seed. I forget who the rookie coach is. That's kind of that's a tough one.
So I'll take Sean Payton.
Sean Payton or Falcons. Who? Raheem Morris.
Yeah, I'll probably take Sean Payton.
Vikings coach.
I'll probably take O'Connell.
Okay. And then obviously Sean Payton, or I'm sorry, LaFleur over Sean Payton, and then Dan Quinn at 7 with the Commanders.
A little early / late for Dan Quinn to be jumping ahead of Sean Payton.
Well, considering his team blew that Super Bowl, so
yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Can we talk about this? Let's get out of the NFL talk. We got to talk about this Lou Williams story.
Yeah, wild.
So you sent me this. I guess he was on a podcast talking about how he partied all night and got drunk, and he kept drinking. I'll just play the clip. Then he went into the game.
This is in New York.
Game in New York. My whole shit in New York, I go to a little lounge, have me a couple drinks, I can go and get back to the room. This particular night, it's like 10:30. I'm about to walk out the door. A wave of women walked in. I got a little carried away. Kept partying, around. I look up, they turning the lights on. I'm still in that bitch. I got to the arena. I'm like, I'm drunk as hell. Mind you, I come off the bench, so I got about 8 minutes to get my shit together. Doc Rivers called my number. I'm like, fuck. I'm in the game. I turned the ball over twice immediately. I had to make a business decision. Either I'm a look drunk out here, or I'm gonna go tell somebody the truth, and I'm gonna go sit the fuck down. I deal with my suspension later on. So I walk up to Doc Rivers. I say, Doc, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm drunk as fuck. I went too far. I'm sorry. I don't think I can do this shit. And Doc Rivers looked me square in my eyes. He said, nigga, you playing the whole second quarter because I need you to sweat that shit out because I'm gonna need you in the fourth quarter. And I had 25 in the fourth.
I love it.
That's a pretty wild story.
I actually love the Doc Rivers aspect of it too. I love Doc Rivers being like, you're playing.
Sweat it out. I need you in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And he had 25 in the fourth quarter.
I'll tell you something, Andy. I don't have a ton of high school basketball highlights because I didn't get to play a lot in high school. But we had a pretty good high school basketball team. So the fact that I didn't play, I'm not like, I feel some sort of way about it. You know what I mean? Like, we were pretty fucking good. And I remember there was a stretch because I kind of led our second team, in practice every day. It's like the starters are all playing together and the second team's all playing together. Like, it's not like we have a good shot at winning. Like, this is to make those guys better. You know, we're essentially the scout team. I would regularly dominate if I was hungover. It was something about like pushing yourself because you didn't want to get fucking found out or whatever. But I remember one time, and it led to me actually getting minutes in the next game. I mean, we're scrimmaging against the first team, and I am just like up and down the court, just fucking with a bunch of backups, like lighting up our starters, grabbing rebounds, going coast to coast, finishing, great passes, defense, steals, the whole thing. Coach with the angry whistle blow, like that, like, because he doesn't like how amazingly great I am playing is of no concern to him. All he knows is that his starting team is getting worked by his backups, and Magic Johnson is suddenly on his backup team, just like carving his starters. Angry whistle blow. Get some fucking water. We're coming back here in 5 minutes. I casually stroll over and just, I mean, you talk about Team America. Team America vomit in a garbage can. Team America. And the coach is like, look at this. This kid's lighting you up with the fucking flu. I was like, the flu? Motherfucker, I just threw up 74 ounces of vodka Gatorade.
That's hilarious.
But that's the move. That, I mean, honestly, he probably played it right. Like, what are you going to do? You know, you suspend the guy. He was such a great off the bench scorer. I love you're going to sweat it out. In the NBA, the games always come to, like, dude, you could be up 15 at the half. It's going to be a close game. Like, the NBA goes and runs. So, all right, second quarter, we're punting. You're getting your fucking sweats out. Fourth quarter, I need you. Honestly, it might be Doc Rivers' greatest coaching moment.
Well, they're getting the sweats out.
That's because Doc Rivers is a Sean Payton of NBA coaches. It might be his greatest moment.
I mean, there obviously is a lot to that, whether you're playing sports or not. If you feel hungover, man, you sweat that shit out. I don't know how it works. I don't know the science behind it. You just know if you feel hungover and you sweat it out, you're like, oh, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
In fact, same way if you get too high and then go to sleep and you're like, oh, I'm feeling groggy, man, just like fucking cardio that shit out the next day. You'll feel so much better. It's hilarious though. And you know what? Props to Lou for just being real.
Yeah.
Hey, man. I partied too hard at the club last night. And I'm sure that happens a lot with these guys.
Yeah. Oh, you go to New York, you're a fucking, you land in New York, you have an off night, and you game the next day, they're all at the club. God forbid if you're an away team and you get the Knicks on a Tuesday and the Nets on a Thursday, you're fucking lit on Wednesday night.
Wait until the NBA gets a team in Vegas, man.
Yeah.
I expect the gross income of those dancers to go up across the city.
They used to talk about that with the Heat, that like teams come down to play the Heat, you could just count on them going out and getting fucked up.
Well, I know that was a thing. I don't know if it's still a thing. That was a thing with the hockey team, where they were so good at home because of that very reason. I think football's different, right? Because it's just one game.
Yeah, and they fly you in the day before. You go straight to curfew, basically. That's why you never hear about that shit in the NFL during the season, but it happens like every Super Bowl because they're there for a week.
Yeah, you got a week to make some bad decisions, for sure. So you wanted to talk about your old alma mater too.
Yeah, I just thought this was funny. At first I thought, and I was like, "This is funny," and then I heard the details of it. But Lehigh Lafayette rivalry game was Saturday. Lehigh Lafayette is famously the most played college football rivalry. So they've been playing. Lehigh Lafayette's been playing, as long as Harvard, Yale, or whatever, but they never missed any seasons. So at some point, if they started 5 years after Harvard, Yale, or whatever, they passed them in games played against one another because they essentially never miss. So they're the most played college football rivalry. Lehigh Lafayette, it's a big deal in the Lehigh Valley. It's pathetically not a big deal. Like, I'll just admit it. And maybe it's the fact that it happens in Pennsylvania. But people take it way too seriously. Like, this is too fucking, what is it? FCS or FBS or whatever. It used to be 1AA when I was there. Football teams playing each other. No one in the world actually cares, but it's a big deal. Lehigh Lafayette, it's a super fun game. Everybody gets fucking turned as fuck. I mean, it is, I would say, on a like smaller scale, it's a bigger deal than Ohio State, Michigan. You know what I mean? It means more to the people there than Ohio State. It means more to the people there.
Ohio State, Michigan?
I'm telling you, it means more to the people there, but the amount of people that care is much smaller. I mean, look at this. Look at what happened. This is a essentially meaningless game, but Lehigh did win the Patriot League and therefore clinch a berth into the FBS or FCS championship. They pulled the goalpost down after the game. Now, I don't know if you know anything about Lehigh University. The whole school is on a hill, and the river is at the bottom of the hill.
So what river is this that they're chucking the goalpost?
The Allegheny, I think.
Okay.
Maybe the Lehigh River.
Is this what's in the background here?
That's Bethlehem Steel Factory.
Okay.
The Lehigh River, maybe. Probably the Lehigh River. Anyway, the whole school is on a hill. If you go up and over the hill from where the river's, up and over the hill, you then go into another little valley. That's where the football field is. So these guys stole the goalpost, walked it out of the stadium, walked it up and over a legit mountain, Andy, 4 miles to throw it in the river. 4 miles.
This is like, you know
how drunk you have to be for you and a gang of guys to just walk, just a random Saturday, just walk 4 miles with a goalpost.
Is like bringing a little
Jesus Christ carrying the cross.
You beat me to it. Damn it! I was just gonna say this is Stations of the Cross. This is some biblical shit.
It happened in Bethlehem, the Christmas city.
I mean, it's pretty crazy. Did they stop? Did somebody wipe one of their faces and they had their face paint that then went back on
a South Side Bethlehem hooker.
What I love is, I mean, where does this go here? Here's my question. They're just chucking the goal, and you've seen this now where I think we saw this in Vanderbilt in Nashville where they chucked it into the river. Where's the goalpost go?
Nah, it's probably, I'm assuming it sinks 600 yards down the river. Listen, that river is right on the Bethlehem Steel Factory line. That Tony Montana talks about that river the way he talks about Michelle Pfeiffer's womb. It is so polluted. You don't have to worry about putting no goalposts in there. It's so polluted.
So you're not worried about what they're doing to the river with the
I mean, normally I would be. I'm an environmentally friendly guy, but no, in this case, the amount of Yingling bottles that are at the bottom of that river.
I wonder how many kids it took to carry that goalpost.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't imagine it's that heavy, really, but it's just a very awkward lift.
Yeah, well,
Probably 60 kids.
4 miles.
4 miles.
I mean, if you asked me to walk 4 miles drunk,
that's like, what I'm saying, Andy.
Man, 4 miles drunk is not fun.
And by the way, I don't know the last time Lehigh made the national tournament or whatever that they now get an automatic bid for. But when I was there, I believe it was my junior year. They did pretty good in the tournament. I believe they made the semifinals, I think. Or maybe even the finals, and they lost to UMass. One of them. But it is since I was there in 2000 that I was like, this is so much better than the college football system. We need a 16-team tournament. We're still not there. We're still at 12. But my God, the idiot, like, how much of an idiot must you feel like if you were arguing for fucking the bowl system or the 4-team BCS system or whatever this year? So many teams in the mix. They might fuck around, make me care about college football again. I mean, they won't, but.
Yeah, as an outsider, again, I don't really watch it either. I think that you see the headlines. Obviously, we don't really cover it, but it's kind of chaos right now. Bama with 3 losses, right? All these SEC teams losing. Ole Miss now loses 3 losses. It's still a shitty system, man.
Oh, of course.
That's, again, why I just love the NFL. It's so clear cut. It's so clear cut. Like, I don't know how you identify the 12 teams, but I hate any system that leaves it up to individuals to make their decisions. Would that be subjective? I always confuse subjective and objective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime you have to make subjective decisions, it's like, no, I can't do that. Like, I know who's going to make the NFL playoffs. I know based on a simple math system. It's not that difficult. All right, guys. Well, give us a ring. 310-359-8365. That's the headline. That's the hotline, right?
That's the hotline.
Yeah. 310-359-8365. Give us a shout. I think this week we're gonna do Friday again.
We've been on a Friday kick, and even though I'm off Thursday, seems crazy for you to record on a Thanksgiving day. What are you doing? What are you doing for a Thanksgiving?
I think we go to her. We go to Northern Kentucky. Her aunts and uncles host like 50 people, dude. It's insane.
50 people.
No lie.
Northern Kentucky, you're deep frying a bird out there.
I forget what they do, but like they got it all set up. She got.
Uh-oh, look at here. If it ain't Ohio boy with his Just for Men beard.
You know what I love? It's literally like 20 minutes away. And you think that we're going down to like
guy in the banjo. Oh, there he is, middle in the root out there, Jeff for Men beer coming over down the river.
I'm gonna put this out here, guys. I'll just say it because we've obviously discussed this at our house many times. I could live in Kentucky, like Northern Kentucky. Like I don't know if it's the equivalent of like a New Jersey, New York thing.
It would be if Kentucky wasn't better than Ohio.
Hate. But for the record, I could totally live in.
You should.
The problem is,
what happens like tax wise and all that?
I think it's pretty similar. like Ohio's cheaper in one regard, Kentucky's more. The only problem is because we lightly looked since she's from there, the housing market isn't like the Ohio. There's way more, at least when we looked, and I'm sure it's the same. Like there's way more houses that are available to buy in Cincinnati. It's not, there's just not as many homes.
Well, in a stunning turn of events in 2024, there's more open and active Nazis in Ohio than there are.
What are you talking about? Ohio?
You didn't see that? You didn't. Andy, are you, dude? You're Mr. Ohio. I think it was in Columbus?
Oh, I did see that.
It was a literal Nazi march. Just wild.
Yeah. I forgot. I got the invite. I didn't make it.
They're like, you're verified on Twitter. You want to come?
I forgot. I was like, I'm busy. I'm watching my daughter that day. I can't do it. Which is funny because when she high fives, she goes like this. And I make jokes. I'm like, hey, whoa. Take it easy. Hey, take it easy, Hitler. She doesn't know. She literally does. And we could not stop laughing. Every time she kept running back and forth between us. And I'm like, I was like, you got to take it easy. How you do that? You can't be bringing that to daycare.
It's weird. I mean, I think in a vacuum, just a little kid raising their arm up straight isn't weird. Her running back and forth between you and goose stepping, that's what makes it very strange. You're like, you just happen to do both of those?
Well, growing up, it was always a big news story here was that the Ku Klux Klan would bring Fountain Square is like a main area of downtown Cincinnati with giant, obviously Fountain, and it's like the heart of the city. They would do a big production to put out their cross, and it was like to be honest, it was a big free speech issue.
Yeah,
which that was always in the local news. And when Jerry Springer was he's Jewish, when he was our top news anchor, that was always a big story here. Like, the KKK is at it again right around Christmas, putting up their cross in their white garb. And then he probably had those guys on his show later. I don't know.
Oh yeah. Oh, there was for sure Klan episodes of Jerry Springer.
Right?
Oh yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I think I remember one.
They just painted a mural of him in Cincinnati.
Love that for Jerry.
Yeah, but we'll do Thursday.
Friday.
I'm sorry, Friday.
Yeah.
Friday, which means you and I will make I believe there's 3 games on Thursday. We'll make our picks.
Including Danny Dimes versus the Giants in Dallas.
We got these are Eastern time. We got Bears Lions at 12:30. Yeah, we got Giants Cowboys 4:30, and then Dolphins Packers from Lambeau. And then we got a Friday game. Jesus, I forgot about this. Real quick on the Dolphins Packers. I don't know if you saw it. Tua was saying he was looking forward to Lambeau. And I was like, bro, we've seen you in the cold. We've seen you in the cold. A night game at Lambeau. Good luck.
Yeah.
What's the early line on that?
I think he might be, and this could be the CTE speaking, but I think he thinks their helmets are those foam cheese. And so he's like, oh, maybe I don't get concussed this week.
Packers are early 3-point favorites. I'm going to say a sneak peek. I'm looking at the Packers to cover that one.
Well, we both fucking ate shit on that New England pick.
Yeah, we did. And I'll say this before we get out of here real quick. All their defense is not playing well. And all you guys, I've seen a lot of Belichick hate.
Oh.
Just in general, and a lot of people questioning Belichick. The last few years obviously were not good. But you know what was still always good with them? Their defense.
Listen, I just had this conversation with somebody, and we can save it for Friday. But the Belichick thing, like the Belichick Brady conversation, I've never understood it. Like, dude, Tom Brady's smart too. Like Tom Brady's smart. Tom Brady wanted to leave. Tom Brady didn't just he didn't just magically turn the Tampa Bay Bucks into a fucking Super Bowl team. He handpicked the team that he thought he could win on. and left a team that had been failing even with him. They sold their soul to the devil to win God knows how many Super Bowls, and their time ran out. You can't be good forever. The idea that they both walked away when they did, and suddenly it's like, well, I guess it was Brady all along. It's the most ignorant and like fifth grade, way to look at whose success it was. It's insane to me.
What is insane, and also to me, it's the same point of it takes two. It's always a quarterback. We talk about quarterback, coach, defense, but you see these people talking about Belichick, and again, because obviously I'm more in tune with the local scene here, and all these there's a lot of dumb Bengals fans who like, why would I want Belichick? Did you see the last few years, their offense? Yeah, dude, he's not going to touch the offense if he, like, first of all, he would never come to an inept dumpster fire organization like the Bengals, but you know what I'm saying? The thought of a Bengals fan being like, why would I want Belichick over Zach Taylor? It probably is one of the worst takes I've ever heard.
And I've had the same conversation with Giants fans. I'm like, even if Belichick doesn't come in and coach, which I don't necessarily think I would want him to, but I would be ecstatic if Belichick came in to be the president of football operations for the Giants. And they're like, how about Belichick's drafts?
Yeah, exactly.
Belichick drafted 30th every year. 30th every year. That's where he drafted. Give me Belichick drafting in the top 5 for a couple of years.
Yeah, that's a good point too. That's true. All right.
Look at his drafts. He didn't find any gems at 31. Also, he didn't have his first round draft picks for a lot of years because of all his cheating.
Fact. You got anything else, man?
No. I'll be at the Hollywood Improv tomorrow night, the Improv Lab. You can see me there. JoePrano.com for shows. At Joe Prano on all social media. Give me a follow on Substack and TikTok and Instagram. And we'll see you on Friday.
Cool. Yeah, we'll see you guys on Friday. Enjoy the holiday, and we'll see you guys then. But most importantly, forgetting it, when you're talking to your family, when you're sharing a nice Thanksgiving meal, look at them and say, stay dirty.